Okay. All right, so we're going to begin with the 11th Amendment. And the 11th Amendment focuses on the idea of lawsuits against the states. Interestingly enough, not too long after the Bill of Rights was established, there became a lawsuit. Hang on, I'm moving the... Sorry. There came a lawsuit by a guy by the name of Chisholm who wanted to sue Georgia. But the thing is he was trying to sue from another state. And so the issue was a citizen of one state can't sue the government of another state unless it's done in the state being sued. So he cannot, in Tennessee, decide he wants to sue Georgia and sue it from Tennessee. Because what you've got there then is conflict between the states. And what we didn't want to do was establish conflict between states. And so it became necessary to clarify that the Constitution said that controversies between individuals and states and citizens of other states were under the jurisdiction of the federal court. In other words, the states couldn't decide the decision, make the decision. Because if you're from Tennessee and you're suing in the court of Tennessee, which side is the court of Tennessee most likely going to be on? Right, Tennessee. And that's normal. That's not unusual. But what they're saying is they're taking it out of the hands of the states, in this case, and placing it in the federal government, which is over talking, but it's supreme. It's the supremacy clause. It is supreme. And so the federal government makes the decisions. So state conduct was subject to judicial review. In other words, the Supreme Court. Remember, judicial review is part of the Supreme Court's powers. So Supreme Court or judicial power, Supreme Court then makes the decision as to conflicts that arise between states. Okay? Make sense? Don't forget this. This is important. State conduct is subject to judicial review. Okay? So Ohio has a beef with Indiana. Who makes the decision? Who? What court?
Indiana.
Okay. The Constitution made clear that controversies between individual states and the citizens of other states were under the jurisdiction of federal courts. Specifically, what court has the right of judicial review? I want to know the specific court. You guys know this. Supreme Court, right. Supreme Court has the right of judicial review. If you need to, write down, state conduct is subject to judicial review by the Supreme Court. Okay. So, lawsuits against states by other states are limited to the federal government. The federal government, specifically the judicial branch, will deal with them. 12th Amendment. Okay. 12th Amendment redefines the procedure for electing the president and the vice president. What we're going to see as we move through the amendments is there will be a couple more amendments that will refine this. So go ahead and make your notes, and then we'll talk about it. I would like for you to highlight redefines procedure for electing the president and vice president through the Electoral College. Okay. If you would, highlight that. And when we come back to look specifically, that'll make more sense. Okay. This was in 1804, and what had happened is the election of 1804 was very controversial in that it was a popular vote, and nobody got a majority. In fact, it became highly contested and a lot of bad feelings as a result. And so what was necessary, and this was the election of 1800, and so by 1804 it was decided we needed to fix this. And so this was their first attempt at fixing how the president and vice president are elected. And we're going to look at the Electoral College. Has anybody heard that term before, Electoral College? Okay, I would hope so, because it's still in effect, and we use it to, in fact, elect our president and vice president. So, I'm going to wait. We will talk more about electoral. Let's get through all of the amendments and then come back and focus in on specific ones. All right, so we've got 12 done. 13, this is an easy one. Abolishes slavery, that's all it does. It abolishes slavery.
I thought it was Donald Trump, but I'd have to have one again. That's it for me.
You guys are so fun. You're so fun. Okay. One thing you might want to add on this one is abolish the slavery throughout the United States. Everywhere. Everywhere. Okay. All right. Notice the date. What is it? 1865. What significant event has ended? Civil War. Right. Good. Civil War had just ended, and as a result, now there was. See if you remember your. I would think this would be Mr. Studebaker. I think. Yeah, because he starts after the Civil War. What's an important document freed slaves during the war, 1863? I'll give you a hint. It begins with an E. Actually, it's two words. E and a P. So what? Emancipation Proclamation. Okay, Emancipation Proclamation freed slaves. So why do we need this? Do you remember what the, do what? You're kind of on the right track. The Emancipation Proclamation, did it actually free all the slaves? No, you're right. You can kind of, why I would ask the question. Right, it did not. The only slaves it actually freed were those slaves that might exist in the North, because the Southern slaves were not a part of the Union when he wrote, or when he had or declared the Emancipation Proclamation. So the 13th Amendment was necessary to make it clear throughout the United States there would no longer be slavery everywhere. All right, so moving on. 14th Amendment. Remember, 14th Amendment includes due process. Okay. It defines citizenship, clarifies the idea of who are citizens and who are not. Okay. I thought you were stretching then. Just checking. Okay, so the idea is that to be clear as to who are actual citizens. Not only citizens on the state level, but also on the federal level. Remember, there are two different levels that we talk about regularly. Federal level, state level. Okay, we are a citizen of Ohio. We are a citizen of the United States. Okay. Okay. It also removed the 3/5 counting of slaves in the census. Do you remember the issue of the 3/5? I'll be impressed if you do. Could be another Jolly Rancher moment. Yeah, what document did that? No, it'd be the Constitution. The Constitution. Good guess, though. Constitution established the idea that in order to be counted for representation, slaves could be considered 3/5 of a person. Okay. So that was representation. It was kind of, let's face it, it was a scam established by the Southern states in an effort to have as much representation as possible in the federal government. So, everybody went along with it. So it's kind of a black eye in this. But the 14th Amendment, then basically puts a big X through that portion of the Constitution. It no longer exists. It removes it from the Constitution, and now slaves are there's no more slaves, period. They are all citizens, right? Citizens. Everybody's citizen. Anyone born or naturalized in the U.S., regardless of race, religion, etc., is a citizen and has rights. No state can deny citizenship. And that's specifically aimed toward the southern states, who really don't want to count Africans in their census. They don't want them considered as a person. This is due process. part of due process. So please note that. I don't have it up there. I should have. Please add due process to this list. Okay? Please add due process to the list. If you're a citizen, you are to be equally protected by the law. It's due process. Okay. Are we good? Okay. 15th Amendment. This is pretty straightforward as well. It occurred in 1870. Voting rights cannot be denied because of race, color, race or color.
What do you mean?
We'll talk about that. Back then, 1870. That's why it's important to recognize dates on this. So in 1870, in an effort to continue to clarify the right to vote by, and specifically they were targeting African Americans on this particular amendment, because in the South it was an active practice that in order to be able to vote, you had to pay a tax or fill out or be able to read and write. Okay. Prior to this, most slaves, it was against the law for them to learn how to read and write. They could be killed if they knew how to read and write in the South. That was standard practice. So the South, in an effort to keep them from being able to vote, would insist that they either pay a tax or be able to read and write. Well, unfortunately, most Black Africans in the South were extremely poor. And so that dollar that it would be to pay for the tax to be able to vote, it might mean whether your child would eat or not. So, would you vote or would you feed your kid? You'd be wrong. So, even though this said voting rights could not be denied because of race or color, it doesn't say anything about saying, okay, you can vote, you're welcome to vote, but first you have to pay. Or you have to know how to read and write. So they placed limitations, and this was a continued effort to try to prevent this. To prevent them, the powers that be in the South, from keeping people be able to vote. Okay, 16th Amendment. My favorite is all about the federal government can tax our income. Yeah, the only thing you have to write there is the federal government can tax our income. This is the federal income tax. The 16th Amendment.
I like your cartoon there.
Yeah, I do too. Okay. Any questions about that? It's really straightforward. Okay. This is where April 15th has become such a famous date. All right. 17th Amendment. This is prior to the 17th Amendment, state legislators chose the Senate. Now, the senators, excuse me. The people directly elect their senators. All you have to write is people directly elect their senators. Okay? Can we move on? 18. 18th Amendment, 1919. Prohibits the manufacture, sale, or consumption of alcohol. This is known as prohibition. Yep. We good? Can we move forward? Yes? No? No? Okay. Okay. 19th Amendment. Yeah.
Freedom for cowboys.
Freedom for cowboys.
Oh.
Gives the women the right to vote. 1920. 19th Amendment, 1920. We finally get the right to vote. Interestingly enough, nowhere in the Constitution does it say that women do not have the right to vote. Nowhere. But it was finally took the 19th Amendment for women to be able to vote throughout the United States. There were areas that they could vote. Wyoming, for example, was one of the first states that allowed women to vote. Okay.
Is that an actual thing?
Yes.
This might be a really stupid question. Was Susan B. Anthony actually arrested for voting?
Oh yeah. There were a lot of women who were voted for trying to vote.
Voted for voting?
Trying, yeah.
Voting for
They were arrested for trying to vote. Yeah.
In 2002.
Okay. All right. 19. Let's do one more. Let's go to the 20th.
Oh yeah, the 20, the big 20.
20.
Oh yeah, the big
Oh, wait a minute. Let's not. Because that's going to take some time to explain. Let's stop at 19. That'll
That's a
take
good
just
start
fine.
to start 20 though.
Yeah.
We only have like 8 more though.
I know, but you only have 3 minutes until we're done. Out of here, so let's just go ahead and save, and then we'll finish up next class, and then we'll begin to look at it in the groups. Okay.
I love the teacher.
Okay, lights coming on.
We kind of trade.
Wrong. It definitely is, bro. I mean, okay, I get it. You told us to plug it. I'm just kidding.
When 16, 17, that's like what, like we were friends with his.
Kayla has to go with you.
You were telling me slowly, but for the last like minute, I found out what to do.
Maybe it's scary still because he knows he got hold of it.
I didn't know how to do it.
Have a good day, everybody. Hello.
Miss Kelsey.
Have
a nice day.
Thank you, you too.
Now, because they don't have any.
Hello.
With the ISD, they come in laughing, thinking it's a joke. I just got on to Joe Lawson, he's having no progress at all on his classes, none. Brandon's sitting there with nothing to do, Brandon Goldie's sitting there with nothing to do, and Jen, I asked Brandon to move 3 times, all the time, all the time. So I told him, I said, next class you're just gonna sit together.
Yeah, just changing your.
And then they go over and high five all the ISD kids. I said, don't bother. I said, this is not a joke.
I would definitely talk to Mr.
Yeah, and I have him first time. I have him out on half so we can cover the window. So Devona could take phone calls because he can't, he's not.
There's something wrong with that.
I have to do this next year.
Grace, I have a favor for you to do.
Good morning. Today is Wednesday, February 19th. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Happy National FFA Week. Remember, all week during lunch there will be games set up for all students to play to celebrate FFA Week. Today, treat bags will be passed out to current FFA members, and lemonade will be served at intervention. Thursday morning is the Staff Appreciation and Ag Professional Breakfast. Members need to report to school at 4:30 a.m. And Thursday is also FFA T-shirt Day. And Friday is FFA Member Appreciation Luncheon with a lunch and learn guest speaker in the shop. Baseball tryouts will begin next week on Monday, February 24th at 5:15 for all athletes not still participating in a winter sport. Please make sure all paperwork is updated to the final forms before first day of practice. Reminder, all track and field athletes not playing a winter sport, workouts are Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3:45 to 4:30, meeting in room 207. If you are not going home, please report to room 207 directly after school. You are not to be wandering around the building. Official practice starts on February 24th at 3:45, and you must have a physical to participate. Sectional tickets are on sale during the school day in the athletic office for both the boys and girls games. Tickets are $6 in advance and $7 at the door. If we sell 50 tickets or more, we get to keep $3 for each of the tickets we sell. The girls' first tournament game is against Miami East tomorrow at Covington, and the boys play at Northmont on February 27th against Miami East as well. Foreign Language Club meeting will meet in room 214 on Friday during intervention. There will be roundtable assistance tomorrow from 2:30 to 3:30. Please take advantage of that opportunity. I do want to point out a couple other intervention things going on this week. Today during intervention in the lecture hall, we will be having a safe dating program for 11th and 12th grade girls. Boys, yours will be next week. Tomorrow during intervention, there will be an all high school presentation in the high school gym. And today during intervention, there will be a meeting for 9th grade girls not involved in a fall activity in the high school gym. We will make announcements on when to dismiss for those. And now here is Garland Weaver with your next clue for the FFA emblem.
Still can't find the emblem? You may want to ask one of Mr. Carr's predecessors.
And with that, remember each of you are a piece of the puzzle. It takes all of us to complete that puzzle. Have a great Blazer Wednesday.